What's going on, everybody? You get an extra review this week. We're going to tackle the trilogy of Reanimator. We're going to finally put an end to this. I've slowly done this franchise. I did the first one back in like January or February. Did Bride a couple months ago, back in like March or April. Finally, we can end this with Beyond Reanimator. This came out in 2003, and it is directed by Brian Yuzna, who directed the second one, Bride of Reanimator, I think, and he was the producer of the first one. Now, Brian Yuzna is hit or miss. I like his Dentist and Dentist 2. I really like Return of the Living Dead 3. Society has a memorable ending, that whole scene towards the end, but the first two acts of that movie are boring. So yeah, hit or miss, Brian Yuzna. This movie feels more like a Brian Yuzna film than a Reanimator film, if I'm being honest. This movie, just like Society, the first two acts are dreadful, just pure dreck, garbage, painful to get through. And then the third act becomes more of a Reanimator movie where everything is just crazy and there's just half bodies and severed penises being eaten by mice and people like sharing personalities with other people, like sharing souls almost. It's odd. This movie was just fucking painful to get through until that last like 10-15 minutes, but even that wasn't even all that great. It's just derivative of the first two movies. It's just done exactly the same as the other two movies. It does almost nothing new. So instead of just bitching, let's go over my positives first. All right, so what I like about Beyond Reanimator, besides the fact that there's lots of good nudity in it from Chris Hemsworth's wife, who was in those Fast and Furious movies. I forget her name, but she's like a Spanish actress and model from Spain, I think. She is gorgeous. We see her naked, so that's a plus. And I did not know that she was Chris Hemsworth's wife until I looked it up. And you even got the guy from Titanic, Jason Barry. He's like an Irish actor, and he's awful in this movie. And then you got Jeffery comes back. So you got some cast continuity and story continuity. This is like 13 years after part two, not only in real life, but within the story of the film. So I like that they're trying to keep the ball rolling, keep the continuity going. Don't just do a direct sequel or ignore shit. They couldn't bring back Bruce Abbott, the actor who plays Dr. Kane, back, but they do have a little line of dialogue that explains why he's not in here, at least. So I like that Herbert West's character not only is in here, because he's really the star of this franchise, so it would fail 100% if he wasn't here, I feel. But I feel like his character is consistent with how he is in the first two, just not as entertaining. He doesn't really have a whole lot to do. He's in a prison throughout 90% of the film, or 99 really. So that sucks. I'm not a fan of the setting, but I feel like his character is at least consistent. He seems like the Herbert West that we know and love. He has some moments that are fun, but not a whole lot. He doesn't really do as much as he did in the first two. There's not like that comedic side of him anymore, like in the first one where he's like, look out, when he's pretending like the cat's attacking Kane again, and he starts like laughing to himself maniacally. Like that side of West is gone. I like that this movie at least tried to do something slightly different with the serum. They're trying to create this new serum that will not only bring people back, but make them not so psychotic and, animalistic. So I like that they did that just to kind of insert something a little different, because the first two was just the same thing where every time they brought someone back, they were just crazy. They couldn't even speak anymore, except for the headless guy. He could speak for some reason. But in this one, they introduced this new little serum that will hopefully make them normal again. But instead, it has a different side effect where people are like sharing personalities with other ones. Like you got Chris Hemsworth's wife's character, I forget her name, Laura. She starts sharing like the personality of the warden at the place, who's the cliche, over the top asshole warden beating people with a stick, the walking cane that he has. And lastly, the third act is the only thing that was even mildly entertaining, and that's really it. It was just chaotic enough to make me able to sit through the rest of this garbage. Now the rest will just be negatives. First up, I feel like it was a mistake to make this an Italian or Spanish production. Everyone's a Spanish actor, so there's like a bunch of like English dubbing over everybody, and it's just annoying. It doesn't feel like a Reanimator film when the first two didn't have any dubbing, and now this whole movie, like half of it, just looks like English dubbing over these Spanish actors. And dubbing acting is always worse than the original actor who, the original performance. Whoever's doing the dubbing is not given the same performance. And the acting, even from people who are speaking English in this film, are awful. This main guy we're following, I think his name was Herbert Phillips or something, whatever. It's supposed to be like the same name as H.P. Lovecraft, so whatever that name is, that's him. Something Phillips. Herbert, Howard, Howie, there we go. Howie. So the main character, Howie, whoever is playing this guy, the guy from Titanic, he is fucking awful. And it's like laugh out loud bad when he has to like give this angry performance and he's yelling like, go, just do it. The way he says it, like I just said it better than him. Like he was just fucking awful. And especially the kid actors, forget about it. It was just so bad. There's no other word to describe it. It's just bad. The first act of this movie, the acting, the kids at the beginning, this little kid is seeing his sister die, and his performance is just so awful. Like this is supposed to be like this life-altering moment, losing his sister, that's gonna make him pursue a career in medicine, to want to bring people back to life with Herbert West. And you don't see that performance. You don't see any tears from him at all. And he does nothing to protect his sister. And this movie opens up like a generic slasher too, not only with like the POV cam. Like if you were watching this and you didn't know what it was, you wouldn't know it's a Reanimator film until probably like halfway through it. Because it just feels so generic. Like the dialogue, oh god, the dialogue is bad. Like, who's out there? Twig snaps. You better not be playing games, I'm serious. Just every line of dialogue you've ever heard in every single generic slasher you've ever seen, it's all in here. It's just unoriginal, uninspired, and it's just dog shit. Now, this is supposed to be a horror comedy, but nothing is funny. Nothing at all. Even that little gag with the mouse biting a severed penis, which they overdo. They keep cutting back to that shot, the mouse biting a penis. It's not funny. So nothing is working in this movie. The score is awful. They do bring back that theme song from the first two over the credits, which is, a little callback. I like that. But that's really the only thing that makes it feel like a Reanimator film is the opening credits, the way that looks, and the song that's playing. The rest of the music throughout the rest of the film is just fucking awful. Typical late 90s, early 2000s, just almost dubstep club music shit. I don't know. It's just awful. It reminded me of like the Wishmaster movies, like 3 and 4. Just bad score. Just bad everything, really. Don't like the setting. Just it's not a creepy prison. They don't do anything to create like good atmosphere or anything, even when shit hits the fan later on. And just all the characters, supporting cast, all of them suck. You got a guy who's obsessed with rats and makes friends with them. I guess that makes sense because he's just a prisoner, but his character really goes nowhere. He's just a guy who loves rats. And then you got a guy who's just a junkie. He's always looking for pills. He's always looking for the next thing, finds the serum, injects himself, dies. So that character went nowhere. Nothing useful there. Typical warden who's a complete jackass who beats all of his prisoners. This whole movie is redundant in itself, and it's redundant when it comes to being a Reanimator movie because it does the same thing, story-wise, beat for beat, that the first two did. Same thing. Guy meets Herbert West, becomes friends with him because he wants to, learn what the hell he's learning, and they become partners. Herbert West doesn't like his girlfriend. He's like, get rid of her. She's weighing us down. She's gonna ruin our whatever. It's just the same things that were happening in the first two, where Herbert West was always jealous of whatever chick Kane was dating, and then at some point that love interest is gonna die, and then he's gonna want to bring her back. It's just the same thing again and again and again. And how the fuck were they able to sneakily set up this whole laboratory inside the prison that no one seemed to see? It's just bullshit. There is this guard who looks exactly like Don Mancini. I thought it was Don Mancini for quite a while, but he's a lot thicker. He looks like he works out, so obviously it's not. But he has the look of Don Mancini. Or maybe I'm just crazy. And then this is the only Reanimator movie that I know of that has CGI. There's moments of CGI that are just not necessary at all. You don't need it. And I mean, especially in this franchise. This franchise is known for its practical effects. The first two had amazing practical effects. You had like K and B in Bride. You had like John Carl Buechler in the original. We don't need CGI in a Reanimator movie. So I'm just done bitching about this movie. I don't want to talk about it any further. I do have all these notes written here for a spoiler discussion, but fuck it. So final thoughts. This is not the sequel that you were probably hoping for. A sequel that would reanimate the franchise, get it back on its feet after Bride, unfortunately, was, lackluster, not that good. But compared to this one, way better. At least that one's watchable. This one is just 2/3 pure garbage and 1/3 just somewhat entertaining, but really just the same shit that we've seen in the first two, except not as good. So when it comes to Beyond Reanimator, this movie is a giant waste of time. And those are my thoughts on Beyond Reanimator. Let me know if you share the same sentiment as me, if you hate this movie just as much as me, or if you actually defend it. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and share with all your friends. Become a Patreon for as little as $1 a month to request movie reviews and support this channel to help it grow and keep going. And you can become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.